Thank you for downloading episode 343. This week we have Trash Talk, Puerto Rican votes, Rogan host JD, new airline rules, Guyton again, Musk predicts pain, and our election predictions. I'm Dave Roberts. With me is my partner in this endeavor. He is back. He is back. Ken Poland.
I'm back from Singapore and Vegas.
And Napa.
And Napa Valley, yeah. Napa Valley.
3 weeks.
Napa Valley was awesome. That is such a great place. I don't know. I know California gets a bunch of people. I mean, look, it's high tax state run by Democrats, but good Lord, that is a beautiful state.
It has everything going for it with natural resources.
Yeah, except who's in charge out there. That's the only bad thing.
Now, did you really fly into LAX?
No, we flew for Napa. We flew in San Francisco.
Okay, yeah, I could have sworn I remember seeing on your map when you said you were going to Napa, it showed you flying into LA. I was like, what the hell?
No,
that's a long way from Napa.
And I think I told you what happened going to Singapore, but we got back from Napa Valley on a Thursday night, maybe about 11:30. And
oh no, you were the mule of the week that week.
Oh, I was the mule. Nice. I guess
you were the mule for grabbing your wife's bag.
Yeah, grabbed my wife's bag, got to Singapore, and was spending a week in Singapore and had to buy all new clothes in Singapore. And I'm talking everything: underwear, deodorant, toothbrush, toothpaste, everything.
So, I just was thrilled with the idea of you passing through customs of Singapore with dirty women's underwear.
I almost started crying in the airplane when my wife texted me that I think we're over Alaska when she said, you grabbed the wrong bag. Yeah, that is.
You didn't hit the call button and say, hey, can we stop in Anchorage?
No, I mean, I actually thought about getting to Seoul, South Korea, and just jumping on the first flight back and just telling the company I work for, like, I'll write you a check for whatever this costs. I can't go. Like, literally, I cannot get to Singapore with no clothes.
So you get the amenity packet because you did fly Delta One. So at least you were able to get to Incheon. Go, you would have had access to the KAL lounge after flying Delta One, and you can go in there and freshen up and at least brush your teeth and that kind of stuff. But yeah, the toothbrushes in those amenity kits are not.
Oh, they're terrible. But that's what I had to use for the next morning when I landed in. Yeah, so then, you get to South Korea, and then I had a 4-hour layover and another 6 hours to Singapore, get in at Singapore, 1:00 in the morning, wake up the next day. And I've been in the same clothes now for a day and a half. So it's 98 degrees in Singapore, 100% humidity, walking down the street, sweating like crazy, trying to find a place that's got just the bare essentials at this point. Like, I just want to brush my teeth with a nice toothbrush. So, yeah, it was fun. But look, Singapore was great. They've got all these different areas of Singapore. So you've got Chinatown, you've got where all the Muslims hang out, where there's a bunch of mosques, in this one particular area. And then you've got Little India. It's a very diverse city, very clean, as everybody always tells me. You feel safe everywhere. There's not a time. I mean, I was walking, late at night
because
down the
the
street.
laws are draconian.
Yeah, I mean, they had actually signs all over the place. Like, this one river ran through the town, and they had signs up like, don't pee in the river. They had signs on the subway that said, if you look up a women's skirt, you could be subject to like 5 years in prison. So they had these signs up all over the place telling people what not to do.
If you look up a woman's skirt on the subway, it's 5 years. I mean,
yeah, going up the escalator, they would have signs.
So
yeah.
Well, I'm usually a gentleman in that regard anyway. Because look, I follow a lot of homeowners around their house where they show me where the equipment is and where their problem areas in the house. And if a woman is wearing a skirt and goes up the stairs in front of me, I stare at the square at my feet,
yep,
making sure that they go because that's just being a gentleman.
Yeah, I just didn't think you had to tell people that, or yeah. But it was pretty lit. Singapore was well developed. I mean, there were areas. I actually stayed in an area that was kind of all local people. I got a haircut in Singapore. So I went everywhere over to town. I spent 3 or 4 days early before my conference and ate all kind of food. Really enjoyed it. I don't know if I ever want to fly, a day to get somewhere again, but it was a good experience.
And previewing one of our stories coming up. So coming back, you're on a BS delay. You said it was a...
yeah, plane left like an hour and a half. I had a 45-minute delay between. I had a 45-minute turnaround between Seoul and flying to Seattle.
That's too close anyway.
Yeah, I know. Looking back, yeah, it's too close. But we left about an hour and a half late out of Singapore, so we get to Seoul. We've missed a flight to Seattle, so now I'm thinking I got to spend another night in Seoul, and I had a Vegas trip a day later. So all I'm thinking about is everything bad that could happen at this point. And they ended up getting me on a Korean Air instead of a Delta flight to LAX. So that's where Los Angeles, that's where that came out of. So I had to go from a really nice seat on a Delta flight to sitting in the middle seat in the back for 11 and a half hours.
On an A380, most likely. She said it was a double-decker.
Yeah, between a double-decker. Yep, between, two guys from Korea that slurp their soup. So, yeah, there you go.
That's cultural.
It is, 100%.
That's cultural. Look, if we kind of think it's rude to slurp soup or noodles or stuff like that, and honestly, it's also a way of cooling the noodles as you eat them is to slurp them. It kind of brings air by them as it comes to your mouth and cools them off a little bit. But yeah, that's cultural. That's I'm with you. I mean, if I can hear you chew.
Yeah. My wife goes crazy if she hears somebody chewing or slurping.
Oh, dude.
You're the same way.
No, I am, but I also am that kind of person that will see how far I can push her being polite and do it on purpose.
That's pretty funny. And then I get back from Singapore and I went to Vegas. So
was that even a 24-hour turnaround?
Yeah, I got back at like Saturday night at 2 a.m. in the morning or Sunday morning at 2 a.m. and I flew out. Or I got back at Friday, I guess, or something like that. I had about a day turnaround, but it was tough that first day. And then I took the red eye back from Vegas a couple days ago, which was it always sounds good to get back home sooner, but the red eye leaves 1 a.m. Vegas time, pulls into Atlanta at 7 a.m.
I've done that flight.
Yeah, you haven't slept. You haven't slept. You get to Atlanta at 7. You look like crud, and then you got to try to stay up during the day and not sleep too much during the day. So I don't know if I'll do that again either.
Yeah, the red eye home from Vegas. Now look, it always sounds like a great idea. Now when I if I go to Vegas, I'm out there to play, but it always sounds like a good idea. Hey, we'll drop the bags with the concierge. With the bag check, and then we'll go play a few more hours, grab dinner, and then go head to the airport. Okay, well, I'll just sleep on the flight. Well,
I never sleep.
Yeah, you can't make up. You cannot make up 8 hours flight.
3-hour flight.
8 hours of sleep on what is essentially your 3 hours actually in the air. Plus, with the cabin service and all that stuff, you're not getting a whole heck of a lot of sleep.
Very true.
So yeah, I think the last time I did it, I maybe got a 20-minute nap or something like that. And look, I was sitting up front, and I was still flying passes back then, so I was sitting up in first class, and still couldn't knock off good sleep. Then land at 7 o'clock in the morning, then have an hour ride home. And at the time, I was living north side. I was going to the north side of Atlanta, and so you land right around rush hour, then have to go through Atlanta. Yeah, it was miserable. It's not quite as bad as landing in Europe at 9 o'clock in the morning. You can't check in until 3. Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, that's terrible. Hey, by the way, speaking of Halloween last week, and I know we're going to get into Biden in just a minute, but did you see him put that baby's foot in his mouth on Halloween Day? Did you see a picture of it? What kind of human? What kind of human? But what? Okay, like he can be cute and rub on the baby's stomach or blah blah blah, but he put the foot of that little baby in his mouth like twice.
Now, look, if that's your baby, that's your grandbaby, that's
but not
whatever.
somebody else's baby.
Yeah, and you want to nibble their toes or something like that, and get the baby's reaction, fine. I wouldn't do that to an acquaintance's baby. We may have done that to our nephews, but again, we were very close with them. We're godparents and all that stuff. I don't think I did. Maybe my wife did. I didn't even want the babies, after they started drooling and stuff, kissing. I didn't want to kiss them on anything but, on the cheek or something, because I'm not a germaphobe, but I know what babies carry, especially once they start going to daycare. Like, every time we'd go over there, we'd get sick. But that's a non sequitur. Sounds like I'm talking to Matt Lowe. But yeah, the creepy. He's been called Creepy Joe before.
Yep.
Like the smelling heads. That's not a generational thing, because he's a little older than my father is. My father wouldn't grab somebody's baby and stick their foot in his mouth.
No, I just can't get over that. And the poor parent is all over the knee. I mean, can you imagine there's somebody holding a baby? So now she's like, I'm just going to the White House to see the president, and all of a sudden the president sticks my baby's foot in his mouth, and now I'm all over the news. Anyway, I just didn't know if you saw that last week.
Yeah, and what do you do as the parent other than just sit there and smile and go, ha ha ha?
Yeah, sir, you can't do anything,
and then go and disinfect your child's foot. Oh my God, he caught liberalism.
Yep.
All right, it's almost over, folks. As the show drops, Tuesday is election day. It is almost over, and I say that we will get. Tuesday will happen, so tomorrow will happen, obviously, because if I'm any judge of the way time works, then I don't know what news we'll get Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Then sometime Wednesday or Thursday, the lawsuits will start. That will be the news cycle.
For whichever side loses.
Right.
Doesn't matter which one.
Right. So there are hundreds of legal briefs sitting there waiting to be filed.
Isn't that a shame?
It really is, for everybody but the lawyers.
Oh, the lawyers are going to make a ton of money.
Oh yeah, win, lose, or draw. That's one of the things that's a joke, but it's not a joke. Is who wins in a divorce? The lawyers. Yeah, they win in every divorce. That doesn't matter if your client gets all the assets, loses all the assets. Doesn't matter. You get paid. So, but once we turn the page, oh God, I hate Cammie has ruined that phrase too. But as we move into 25, we're going to immediately pick up into the 26 election cycle.
Oh, no doubt.
The next, if Trump wins, as soon as the inauguration happens, they're already going to start talking about J.D. Vance for 28. They'll already be talking about who's in the lineup for the Democrats in 28. That will already start the discussions, because these pundits can't go away. This is what they do for a living. You have to have something to talk about. So it'll immediately go into 26, and we're gonna have a hot senatorial race in Georgia. It's widely guessed that Kemp will run for Senate, although you're not convinced. I know.
No, I don't think he does.
That may depend on the presidential race, because you probably would not want to try to run against a sitting vice president for the nomination. So that'll immediately be, but that's just the microcosm of Georgia. You're going to have probably 20 other senatorial races that are going to be in the midterms. And so that's going to be, that's the sad part of where we are now. It's a perpetual thing where we're constantly talking about the next election. And of course, we have city elections in Georgia on odd years. Now, I assume it's most places in the country have the city elections in odd years. So then we start talking about, I don't know if Adams is going to be up for re-election in 25 or not. I don't know if he's going to be in jail in 25 or not, for that matter. Well, funny, nobody went after Adams until he started complaining about the illegals.
Right.
In his city. I'll be up late on Tuesday. I can't, just like, you say you can't sleep on an airplane. I can't sleep with my wheels turning. So if I go lay in bed, I'll be constantly checking my phone every 15 minutes to see what's updated. And so that's just the way my mind works. So most likely what I'll do is I'll just have the TV on and sit in my recliner and doze in and out. And every time I wake up, kind of check the box scores.
Yep.
Because in 2020, I went to bed feeling great because Vegas gave, almost 100% to Trump. That's why when I see people online talking about the betting odds, no, that's not how things work. That's not how handicapping bets works. It's Vegas doesn't care who wins or loses in any sport. They care about if they make money. So if too much money's going on, let's say the Falcons. I don't even know who they're playing this weekend. But if too much money's going to the Falcons, then they'll start adding, sweetening the odds for Dallas until people start evening out those bets. Because Vegas only wants to make 1 or 2% on those bets. But they don't want to lose. So they move the lines. It's not based on who they think's going to win. It's where the money's going to go. So, it's almost called for Trump. Like it's 2:00 in the morning where I turn the TV off, go to bed. I'm smiling like, okay, Biden's defeated. We won't have to deal with him again. And I wake up a few hours later, turn the news on. I'm like, what the hell just happened? Like, oh yeah, Fulton County found the exact number of ballots they needed. Well, hell. But last week we did see the Dodgers win.
Yeah, they did win the World Series.
Freddie Freeman tied a record for consecutive World Series games with a home run.
Oh, very nice.
He had a chance to, obviously in Game 5 to break the record. He did not. He still got MVP. I don't want to hear from the Braves fans whining that we should have kept Freddie. Whatever. Where were they when Olsen hit 50 home runs last year?
Yeah, true.
But no, Freddie's a great player. He's a great guy. It was an unfortunate situation. He tried to play a little too much hardball, so to speak, with the Braves, and I can't really say he lost because he just got another ring, MVP. He's living in Southern California where his wife is from. He's got a beautiful wife, beautiful kids, beautiful family. I'm starting to sound like Trump. Beautiful family. But he's stinking rich. He lives in a beautiful place and just got another World Series ring. So, I mean, things worked out for him just fine. And it's not like having Freeman on the Braves this year would have gotten him further in the playoffs because we had half the team on the injured reserve list. But no, good on them. But did you see those Yankees fans try to break Mookie Betts' wrist?
I did. I just think they got caught up in the moment. You talking about the ones that tried to grab the ball out of his glove?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a couple beers, you get caught up in the moment. You're trying to grab a ball.
You're also in probably $5,000 seats.
Yeah, I'm sure those were very expensive. And they got kicked out for the rest of the year.
And I heard they got refunded.
Oh, really? That's nice then.
But yeah, look, there was a play a few years ago where a ball goes in the stands and this kid snatches it out of the air in front of the outfielder and just snatches it before it could get to the outfielder's glove. He didn't stick it out of the glove. And the outfielder looks at him, scowls, and then smiles and gives him a fist bump like, good catch, kid, good catch. And that's what I love about baseball.
Right.
But it ruins it when you have drunk, unruly fans that don't touch the players. Unless, obviously if they reach out and give you a high five or whatever, but don't touch the players. And I know there's a risk to going into the stands, but once it's in his glove, don't try to rip it out of his glove. I mean, I know they want a souvenir, but they could have really injured a very valuable player.
Yeah, they could have.
Besides him personally, obviously, you don't want your wrist broken, but he makes his living with his wrists by being able to hit the ball.
Yep.
So that's more sports ball than we should have on the show. All right, let's get to garbage talk.
Yeah,
the only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters, Joe Biden. All right,
and what did he say? His demonization of Latinos is unconscionable and it's un-American. But his demonization, he's not referring to Trump. He's referring to he's trying to refer to Trump, right? I mean, Trump never said that, but yeah, Biden put another foot in his mouth last week besides the little babies.
Yeah. He stuck everybody's foot in his mouth.
What is Biden doing? I guess my question is, a week before the election, what is Biden doing sitting behind his computer screen talking to the media?
So we talked about this last week, or a week before, is that Biden has been sidelined by the Harris campaign, which is not a bad idea. Look, when you run for office, and I've had these conversations with different people before, is someone will say, I will help you any way I can, even if that help is not helping.
Right.
Because some people know that they're toxic in the political arena. And sometimes you don't want somebody's endorsement. It's like, I just prefer you not.
No way they want Biden doing this.
So to give sort of Biden a bone, like, here, do this. And then he comes out and says that. So what is the ultimate troll? The next day, Trump shows up at a rally and climbs into a garbage truck.
That was a good one. I thought, that was amazing what Trump did. But look, two things before you get into Trump. For Trump to have this guy on stage in Madison Square Garden, and for him, the comedian, to say this was a huge, huge problem. Like, you got to shake your head to say, why would you have a comedian up there? That comedians get paid to say raunchy stuff, right? I'm shocked that they had this guy up there.
And look, it was funny. His timing is impeccable, and a lot of comedy is timing. His timing was impeccable. It was not a bad joke. I mean, look, I don't think he was certainly not talking about Puerto Ricans, but look, Puerto Rico is a dump. I love the people. I love the culture. I love the food, the infrastructure, and everything else that is Puerto Rico. The stuff that makes Puerto Rico run as a commonwealth is trash. Their governor was under indictment for bribery and embezzlement and all that stuff with hurricane relief. We had millions of bottles of water on the ground, and she was trying to figure out how to make money on it instead of giving it to the people. On the aid, look, the politics in Puerto Rico is extremely corrupt. It's a dump.
I'm sure the politics are, but to say that is
right. Me as a pundit sitting in front of a microphone in my living room, I can say that at a rally. And look, immediately Trump was distancing himself from it. And look, this is not Trump. Trump didn't know this comedian. He's probably never met the comedian. This is his team that was looking for someone who was on the right side that could get the crowd hyped up. And I don't think you should ever have to go through a comedian's material and approve it line by line, but you also don't say controversial stuff.
Yeah, true.
Just be funny, be witty. If you want to land a joke, you can land it on Harris or on Biden. But I of course, I don't. Even as a campaign manager or coordinator for this event, I wouldn't think somebody would make a joke about Puerto Rico like that.
There's no reason to. Like, why would you make a joke? There's
it's not
absolutely no reason to.
Right. I wouldn't have thought about it. But just as the press is running with it, Biden's like, hold my teeth.
Mm-hmm. I'm just amazed they still got Biden out speaking. I mean, the guy, and I don't know if you saw this a couple of weeks ago, but Biden was talking to Obama at an event, and they did he was whispering or whatever, but the lip readers read what Biden and Obama were talking about, and Biden's basically like, you guys screwed up. I'm a lot better candidate than VP Harris. And Obama basically agreed with him. He's like, yeah, I know that, Joe. I mean,
that's one of two things on Obama's part. One is you're right, Joe. The other is, yeah, Joe, I know. Just go retire. But, I mean, he was a better candidate.
There
plenty of good candidates, but it was too late in the game.
Yeah,
that's the problem. Is they would have had to hold another primary, and it was very, very, very late in the game because they had to be done by August something in order to get on certain ballots.
Yep.
So in order to hold a primary that quickly would be almost impossible. As much as the Republicans are saying they never held a primary. And this may have been the plan the whole time, because they knew there's no way the Harris. Of course, I can't think of any Democrat that wanted that thought they wanted Harris before that first debate with Trump and Biden. There's just no way they wanted Harris. But yeah, the garbage thing, the way he said, then them trying to roll it back, say no, they put an apostrophe in there, which was grammatically incorrect. They tried no, he literally said his supporters are the garbage. I mean, that's it. So look at Facebook, at people changing their profile pictures to a garbage can. People went as Halloween wearing trash bags. I mean, they absolutely ran with it. Conservatives actually run with it. The problem is conservatives are in an echo chamber, and they're making themselves laugh without really getting. I don't think that's changing hearts and minds, and I really don't think, as we get to the next story, it really hurt Trump. There's a story that says Puerto Rican voters may cost Trump the election.
I 100% agree with that.
I don't think so.
Look, I don't think the story we just talked about with Biden saying that Trump supporters are garbage is going to make any independent go out and say, oh, now I'm going to vote for Trump. It riled up Trump's base, but it didn't say, I'm now going to go out and vote for Trump versus Biden. I think the Puerto Rico joke, though, really made a lot of Puerto Ricans mad. And I don't know if you've seen it online, but there's a lot of Puerto Ricans coming out now that are saying we're voting in Pennsylvania in particular, which has got a huge Puerto Rican population. They're coming out now saying we're definitely voting for Harris instead of Trump because of those comments. And look, it don't take, a couple thousand Puerto Ricans to change their vote, and Trump loses Pennsylvania. I think it's a huge deal against Trump in the swing states.
I don't think it's as big a deal as you do. I just don't. I think the people that are saying that were already going Harris. Like if you were voting Trump for economy, for energy, for any of the national defense, any of the other reasons, you didn't just hear a bad joke about the island you happen to be born on and go, okay, well I'm switching my vote. I just don't see that happening. You may say something like that's stupid, or whatever. And look, I'm not a blind Trump supporter. I don't run around with a red hat. I don't have the fight thing on my profile picture.
You don't? I thought you did.
Yeah. I'm too narcissistic to put anybody else in my profile picture. So I'm not a staunch defender of Trump. I'm just a reasonable person. I just don't see it. Plus I don't agree with this whole lumping quote unquote Latinos together. I just don't, because they're not a block. When you define Latinos, that includes everybody from Central America, South America, and the Caribbean. The Cubans are nothing politically like necessarily Mexicans or Guatemalans or Venezuelans or Brazilians for that matter. They all have distinct cultures. The Cubans that are here overwhelmingly are conservative. They're Catholic, conservative, very happy to be here. If they are not people who their first, second, even third generation, they've heard the stories what's like living under a communist regime. Is why the mayor of Miami is a Republican. Miami is Little Havana. Actually, Miami now is Big Havana. It's actually bigger than Havana ever thought of being. But best Cuban sandwiches on earth and Cuban coffee and all that stuff is found in Miami. It's a huge Cuban population, and they have a Republican mayor because overwhelmingly they are conservative. And I say they overwhelmingly. So this whole idea that there's one big voting block of Latinos, just like big voting block of Black or Asian or anything else, is you can't just group people because, you're brown and you come from a country that speaks Spanish, or your family comes from a country that speaks Spanish. Okay, you're automatically one of ours. You belong to the Democrats. No, that's not how it works. And even the a lot of the Mexicans and Guatemalans, let's just say Central Americans that are here, are upset with the Harris-Biden policies because, they came here, worked their butts off, work for everything they own, don't get handouts. And then you see people jumping the border and being put up in 5-star hotels. And that's seeking into them as it's not fair.
Yep. Right.
And so it's the same thing we're seeing in the black community. As I say, there's no group, but in black communities around these big cities, Chicago, New York, Philadelphia, where you start to see black folks that are really, really, really upset that there's all this money going to other people and not enough money to fix their own neighborhoods.
Yep.
So that to me is more resonating. That I really don't think that one 10-second joke is going to derail Latinos or Puerto Ricans. And like I said, I think the news went out and found people who are Puerto Rican who were already voting Harris that were willing to go along with their narrative.
We'll see next week.
Now, did you see J.D. Vance on Rogan?
I didn't. I never watched that. It's too long to me. I mean, it's like a 3-hour conversation.
It is 3 hours.
Who's got time to watch 3 hours?
I made it 2.5 into it.
I love the format that Rogan does with these people where he actually sits down and has like this long form conversation. I think it's great that he does that. I just don't know anybody that has 3 hours to listen to a podcast.
You don't do it all at once. Typically, if I would put Rogan on, it'd be one on a long trip, a road trip. Or you listen to an hour on the way to work, an hour back. And look, people listen to our show the same way. Is you'll listen to it in the car for 15 minutes. You stop, get out, go to the store, come out, you listen to it another 15 and finish it, in pieces, just like you do an audiobook. But I try to make it through. It is really, really, really good. J.D. Vance is so likable. So, first of all, great voice for podcasting. If this whole vice president thing doesn't work out for him, he can always grab a microphone and make a killing. But he's telling jokes. He has the mouth of a sailor. He was a Marine. I mean, that's just and he admits it. But he's telling stories about his kids, when his kids first met Trump, and telling Trump an inappropriate joke to one of his 7-year-old, and of course, Vance is mortified. But he came off really, really human, and the way he did it, and he was engaging with it is he was open to it, and he said, I don't want to get hyper political because I know that people from all across the spectrum listen to you. And he got his jabs in, but other than that, they just talked, and he came off very, very likable. He's of course a young, good-looking, energetic guy. He really is reminiscent of Kennedy in 1960, where you have this old guy in Nixon who comes off old and shifty and sweaty. He had the flu for that debate. That's why he looked so bad. But then you have this young guy, war hero, who comes out, and he's energetic, has a beautiful wife next to him, and he has everything going for him. And what does he do? He picks an old guy to be his running mate to shore up the South, and Johnson, which was a mistake, ended up getting a bullet in his head for it. But J.D. Vance reminds me a lot of Kennedy with his rise through the Senate, and just the way he's able to connect with people and get his point across, and is young, energetic, and attractive. And that's the same thing that Clinton did to 41. When he came up, as Clinton was young, energetic, with an Arsenio Hall show and all that stuff. It was cool. So that's interesting. All right, Kenny, this one's for you. Airlines are going to be required to refund you for canceled or significantly delayed flights.
They should. Automatically, I guess, is the question, right? I mean, last week, a couple weeks ago when it happened to me, I actually had to reach out. But it sounds like airlines are automatically going to do this into your account.
I don't know if I like this.
I don't like the government telling the airlines they have to do this. And that sounds like what is happening here, right? I mean, what are they going to do? Tell restaurants you have to start refunding or giving people if their food's delayed after you ordered? I agree with you. It's government overreach. It's government overreach.
I also think that it gives the airlines a pass. Like, if here's your money back.
Yeah, it does.
No, and I think Kat Temp made a really good point when she talked about it. Anybody who knows Kat Temp is a podcaster, author. She's on the Gutfeld show.
Gutfeld show. Yeah, she's good on the Gutfeld show.
Yeah, and she's knocked up. But she made a really good point. She goes, I don't want my money back. I want my ticket. If I wanted my money, I'd have kept it to begin with. But yeah, yep. I agree with you. For instance, what happened to you? You ended up in the middle seat. And they offered you like 7,500 miles, which is
$75 basically. Not even that much.
It's not even. We call them sky pesos, just because they really have no value. It takes $750,000 to fly Delta One to from Atlanta to Rome.
Yep.
$750,000 sky miles to do that. And I was talking to my wife, and she's the person I send for refunds because she's meaner than I am. Oh, she is. I mean, she does not give a single F. But she's like, when I told her about the 7,500, she goes, "Oh no, I think they're missing a zero there." Because they took you out of a premium select seat, and then and truthfully, they did the best they could. They stuck you on a KAL flight. They got you home, and in KAL, the code shares really don't care. If they got stuck on a Delta flight, they would have done everything they could. They'd have gotten you in the lounge. They'd have given you a bunch of drink tickets. We have to put you in regular coach or whatever. And KAL doesn't care. It's their metal. They're like, yeah, whatever. Here's your seat right on top of the lavatory, right in the middle of two guys slurping soup. Enjoy the next 12 hours.
Yep.
All right, real quick. So we talked a little bit about Guyton last week, about them voting themselves retirement. So Theodore Hamby, who is
where is Guyton, by the way? It's down 75 somewhere, right?
Yeah, it's down.
Down 16.
Yes,
I'm sorry,
it's down 16. It's coastal.
Yeah,
it's out. It's out near where Jessica is. So Hamby is one of the people that the when we talked about last week, the very nice lady that came in and read him for filth, saying you were in my living room, saying that you would never vote for retirement, and here you are voting for it. And this is the folks that overrode the mayor's veto on giving themselves retirement. Guyton is smaller than the town of Dallas.
I don't think any elected officials need retirement, to be honest. I mean, but yeah, keep going.
Yeah, but so Hamby, he's such a douche. Goes out and puts this post on Facebook explaining that you have to have retirement to attract better people into public service. So what he said was, we need retirement so you can find someone better than me.
That's the way it came out.
Look, I know he's a kid. Was he 24?
I don't know how old Theodore is. I think he's pretty young. I mean, he's worked on political campaigns for a long time. I mean, he's been around the political scene for quite a while.
And all he's learned to do is lie. He's been around politicians since he was probably 15, 16 years old. And all he's learned is how to lie, and he doesn't do it well. I think, now correct me if I'm wrong, is he the one that was trying to sell his endorsement?
Yes, that was the same person. Yep.
So he is a douche. 100%. And you know what, Theodore? Call me if and you know a lot of the same people I do. You can get my number. You call me if I've offended you, because I'll do nothing but laugh and laugh and laugh.
Look, I think it's I think he campaigned pretty hard on no retirement, and then to come out and support it a couple of years later, I think is a very bad look. I do think sometimes you can change your point of view on matters, but I think this is to go this far on like retirement and something that's just being given to elected officials. I don't think you can go that far. I mean, he should have never done this. You
can strip your gears going to reverse that fast.
And I get it, what he's doing. He's probably looking at it. I mean, look, you see what happens in the state house and state senate in Georgia. If you serve 8 years, you get full health care benefits forever. So that's why a lot of representatives leave after 8 years. And you see a lot of just think if you're 23 years old, you're elected to the state house, you retire at 31, you've got government benefits, health care forever, which is, can you imagine what the value of that? I mean, it's huge.
Oh, it's huge value because Because here's the thing is
and he's probably thinking the same thing. He's probably thinking, hey, I'm 23. I'm going to have some kind of pension plan if I serve, 4 years or 8 years. And then I can just coast off with benefits for the rest of my life and be a real estate agent. And I'm not knocking on real estate agents. I'm just saying jobs that don't particularly get health care, right? Or don't get health care.
And look, we're making the Democrats' point for them as far as with health care is that when you remove health care as an expense, it's one of the reasons that Connie works is I can't
get health care. Right.
And if I offer it to myself, I have to offer it to my employees. So with that, that's a huge advantage throughout your life is if you know that you, your spouse, and your kids will have insurance in perpetuity. Well, your kids won't have it in perpetuity, but you and your wife will have it in perpetuity. That frees you up to do a lot of stuff. Of course it does.
Yeah, no doubt.
It allows you to go do, whatever out in the world and not have to worry about, go work for a startup, go be a consultant, do things that have a high upside, even being an attorney. You can go into private practice instead of having to work for a firm or work for a DA's office because you don't need it.
Yeah, my wife's a teacher and she retires in 5 years, and that frees us up at low 50s to have a lot of flexibility for the rest of our lives. So, that's what he's looking at. I'm sure of saying I'll serve, I'll get health care forever, and then I can do whatever I want to do at that point. But to campaign so hard against it and then to just flip over. And then it was actually the way they did it too, where they called a call meeting. It was like during a weird time of day. They knew the mayor couldn't be present, who was a big objector to what they were doing. Just everything about it reeks.
It really does. So I know a lot of people like him. Think he's a nice kid. They've been around campaigns that he's worked. I'm sure I've met him once in different places. Just because I've been around political campaigns, I don't recall him offhand. But then again, I'm a narcissist and don't remember a lot of people that I meet. So Elon Musk says, "Brace for the pain."
Yeah, and I was listening to CNBC last week too, and they were talking about this story. So Elon Musk, in the background of this, is President Trump has said if he wins, he's going to put Elon over a department called the Department of Government Efficiency. So the thought here is Elon, and when Elon bought Twitter and went in, he fired like 90% of the Twitter staff, and Twitter still runs fine, right? So what Elon is talking about is he's going to go into the federal government and gut the federal government. And there's going to be a point in time that government spending is going to go down. A lot of people are going to lose their jobs in government. So he's going to go through and just lay waste to the federal government, which needs to be done. But he's saying that time could be painful. And the question I've got, or the point I'm making, is there's going to be pain at a certain point anyway. We spend $2 trillion more this year than we brought in. The numbers are terrible, right? So the pain's either going to be 2030, 2040. It's coming down the road like a train. So I'd rather have short-term pain. I'd rather have Elon clean up the federal government and get this over with now versus we go into depression 10, 15, 20 years from now and everybody loses money.
As you and I are trying to retire.
Yes, 100%. Somebody has to go in. Now, look, I think Elon's going to find out it's a lot harder to fire 90% of the federal government than it was to fire 90% of Twitter.
You think?
Yeah, and I think he's going to find out that 75, 80% of the government money is Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, and the military and things that are already allocated that he can't necessarily cut. So I don't think it's going to be as easy as he thinks, but point being, if Trump wins and he gets Elon in there, we need something like the guy down in Argentina is doing. And everybody said when he was elected, I forget his name, it was like a libertarian guy down in Argentina got elected. He has gone through and just cut everything in government. And guess what didn't happen? Exactly what the media said would happen. So he's done a great job down there, and I think the same thing needs to happen up here in our government.
He limited their version of the IRS.
Yes, right.
Now the executive branch doesn't have the authority in the United States to do that. Yep. However, you can hamstring them.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, you
You
hold
could
the
do the
purse
same.
strings.
You could do well. The purse strings belong to Congress, but they allocate it. But the way it's doled out is to the executive branch. And
Yep.
look, he could strip the EPA and streamline the processes. I'd like to see him do it to the ATF personally. But they can't get rid of the NFA without going through Congress.
Yep.
That's the National Firearms Act. In order to get a silencer, you have to apply for a permit, and it takes a year or more to get permission to buy it.
Yeah. Right.
And you can get permission to buy the actual firearm in 20 seconds, putting in a 4473, but it takes a year to put a muffler on it.
Yep.
So yeah, all that can be done, and that falls under efficiency. That I would love to see, but neither Musk nor Trump have any desire to get involved with the ATF. Trump has not been the gun owner's friend. That's just a fact. A lot of the rules that under his leadership with the ATF have been overturned by the courts. The bump fire bans and some other stuff has been overturned by the courts. But that's because Trump is a populist, and he kind of sees which way the wind is blowing and turns the sails that way. This is a good time to remind you that these are our opinions, not those of anyone not on the show or any respective company for which we may work, own, or otherwise associate ourselves with on a regular or irregular basis. Also, you can find other episodes and relevant stories over the GeorgiaVirtue.com. All right, the Mule of the Week is a commemorative.
Yes.
Barclay Black retired last week. He is the ADA down in South Georgia that worked for Daphne Totten, who is on her way out January 1. She was defeated. I mean, handily defeated. I mean, she got her hind end handed to her. She's really hurt. He's upset. Said he won't work for the guys coming in. I think his name is Busby. Won't work for him. And he's taking his ball and going home. Now, I don't know where he's heading. I guess he was in court for one last time. Jessica Szilagyi put out one of her infamous drawings of his last day in court.
I saw that.
Oh, she really should sign those things and auction them off for charity.
I know, they're really good.
They're just amusing.
Yeah.
But you know what, Barclay Black, don't go away, mad girl. Just go away.
Yep.
All right, so let's get into a little prediction here. Let's first talk about POTUS. How do you think Georgia goes?
I think Georgia's red. Probably like 52-47 or something. 52-48. I think Chase Oliver will get a few votes, but he's been a terrible libertarian candidate. So I think he wins by 4 or 5 points in Georgia.
I think the base is charged up. I think the Democrats are defeated by seeing the stuff that Harris is doing. I think that I think Trump is going to pull historic black numbers.
Yeah, black men too, in particular, I think are voting for Trump versus Harris.
And I think a lot of those suburban women are coming back because they voted with their hearts in 2020, and now they're going to vote with their wallets. Because even suburbanites, even the soccer moms, see what's going on. They see things like milk going up, even stuff like let's talk about snobs like me. The cost of getting your lawn cut has gone up, and it's not because my lawn guy wants more money. It's the fuel he uses to get here, the fuel he uses to cut the grass. He has to pay his labor more. So naturally, my cost of having my yard done has gone up exponentially since 2020. So I think that real on the street sort of feeling is really gonna push it. And this is, I think, an odd situation where down the ballot hurts the top of the ticket. There is no big Senate race. There is no City of Atlanta race. So those other things that would really drive Democrats to get out and vote, really isn't there, and Kamala just does not inspire people. It doesn't matter how much they throw Tim Walz out there and say he's a manly man. He's not. AOC's out there talking about what a man Walz is. I'm like, what?
No, nobody's like, yeah.
Yeah, like, sweetie, have you ever met a man?
I know.
That's not one.
That's not what. Yeah, you're not describing Tim Walz as a man's man.
This one's gonna be interesting. North Carolina.
I mean, I think Trump wins again in North Carolina. You got the governor primary up there. The Republican governor running for elections, run a terrible campaign and gotten caught with a lot of stuff in his past. But I still think Trump wins North Carolina.
I think, as horrible as it is to say, I think Helene helps that. Because the people in North Carolina feel it. And even people who aren't in the Asheville area, other parts of the state, Western North Carolina, they see what's going on in their state. Yeah, they see what other Tar Heels are going through, and they see the lackluster, limp-wristed response to it from what we're now calling the Harris-Biden campaign or administration. That they see the pain, and they see that these people are really hurting, and the lackluster response.
Yep.
So I think North Carolina goes red. How about Virginia? They just won their court case as far as removing non-citizens from the voter rolls, which is only 1,600 people, really.
Exactly. I don't think it's that many. I don't know. I seem to think overall Trump wins big next week. So I think he wins almost all the swing states. Now, I could be totally wrong, and what Democrats are saying is their ground game. And I will say this. What Democrats are counting on is their ground game being very, very strong in all these swing states. And it may be, and we may be totally misreading what's going on with the ground game, because I'm going to tell you, the ground game in Georgia is terrible for the Republicans. The Georgia Republican Party is useless. Your local Republican parties in the counties, useless. The one I live in, do you think anybody's knocked on my door? Do you think anybody's gone out planning an event? Because I would know about it. They do. Like, our ground game as Republicans is terrible. With that being said, I still think Republicans win big. So I think all these swing states are going red next week, unless I'm totally misreading what's going on out there.
Now, I don't know about Michigan, because Michigan has fooled me before.
Well, they reelected Gretchen Whitmire as governor
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, after a terrible COVID record. So I don't know about the people in Michigan, but
that's exactly what I'm talking about. Is Whitmer is witless. I cannot believe they were. And look, 2 years ago, I thought Whitmer was done. She's there's just no way. There's no way the people in Michigan are dumb enough to reelect Whitmer. And they did.
Right.
So Michigan to me is one of the biggest toss-ups in the country, because everybody you talk to in Michigan, especially the blue collar folks in Michigan, you talk to them and they hold the same values, and they complain about the same stuff. They complain about inflation. They complain about wages. They complain about jobs going overseas. They complain about all that stuff, but they don't do anything about it. They continue to vote blue.
I know, it's amazing.
All right, so Nevada's interesting.
Yeah, and I was in Nevada, last week on a business trip, and all you saw everywhere was political ads. It was,
and you were
it was truly amazing.
Clark County is a blue hub, especially the Vegas area.
Yeah, but it was amazing. They even had VP Harris's picture on that spear out there, which was hilarious.
Oh, Lord. A 40-story tall picture of Cammie? No, thank you. New Mexico should not be in play, but apparently they're both spending a lot of time there. I still think New Mexico stays blue, but I think it's close. I think it's a lot closer than people think it's going to be. I think it's going to be sub 1%.
Really?
Either way, I think that New Mexico being a border state, with that kind of stuff, I really think that Arizona and New Mexico are in play. I think they're going to be very close either way. You know, I was in Arizona last month. And the one thing Harris was doing really smart was she was advertising on Navajo radio.
Yeah,
And
right.
when we were out on the nation, you can only get like 1.5 stations. Most of it was talk radio, and I didn't understand most of it because it was in Navajo, but I can understand, brought to you by Kamala Harris 2024. That I could, obviously I could pick up the English words in it. I understand exactly no Navajo, but that was the talk radio is being sponsored by Harris. So that's a very smart on her part because it is a population that is downtrodden, that feels downtrodden, that doesn't have the same opportunity, especially if you drive through the nation and you look and these families own huge tracts of useless land,
right,
and live in a single wide. And it's nothing wrong with living in a single wide, but we're not talking about like new off the lot. We're talking about probably 5th generation that's lived in this single wide.
Yep, exactly.
So she's very smart to kind of get into the politics of the Navajo because that sort of stuff it could swing Arizona because that's a bunch of votes. I mean, no, they're not as numerous as they used to be. And if you want to go into Paul Revere and the Raiders and the Cherokee Nation song, not as numerous as they used to be. But those are when you start talking about 5,000-10,000 votes swinging a state, you have 5,000-10,000 votes right there.
It's not way than Georgia.
Yeah, it is. But we don't have that one. Again, I don't like voter blocks, but you don't have an isolated group that you can have a monopoly on the media that's going to them.
So I do predict a huge win for Trump next week or Tuesday, which is I know this drops on Monday, but I do predict a huge win for Trump, and I hope it for a couple of reasons. I do think Trump is a lot better for the U.S. than a Democrat president. I think he's a lot better for our foreign policy. I think he'll shut down all this craziness that's going on outside the U.S. I think the economy will do well up under Trump, even though I am interested in what happens to the stock market next Wednesday with whoever wins. But the main reason I'm hoping Trump wins is to shut the hell up of all these election deniers out there that keep having this pedestal to push this stolen election nonsense they've been doing over the last 4 years, Candace Taylor in particular. Good God, can we get those people to just shut up? And look, by the way, Georgia's had record turnout over the past 3 weeks of early voting, like record turnout. And all they're doing is like trying to continue to push this stolen election narrative, which suppresses the vote, right? I mean, that's why we have two Democrat senators.
Well, that's what happened in 2020, number one.
What is the point of them doing this except to stay somewhat relevant in their own mind to a tiny little sliver of the electorate? So, good God, I hope Trump wins so these people don't have a platform any longer.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And look, I voted early. I very, very rarely vote early. I've got a job going tomorrow as the show drops, and like I told you, Murphy is my constant companion. So if I don't go ahead and vote before, that job will go long. I think all the ballot measures pass. They almost always do.
Yeah, I don't like the first one. I voted no on all three of them. I would have probably said yes on the first one a couple of years ago, but going into being a county commissioner starting in January, I don't like what number one is doing. I don't know the long-term impacts of number one yet. So freezing tax assessments, I think there's a lot of negative things around that that's going to happen. So I'm not a fan of that one, but they'll all pass, and we'll see what we'll see what happens.
They very rarely fail.
Yeah,
all right, as we're winding down, do you have any closing thoughts?
No, I just can't wait to see what happens. This is, quote unquote, the most important election ever, right? So can't get this one wrong.
Everyone has been since I've been alive.
Exactly.
I remember a little of the 1980, but I certainly remember the 1984 election. That was the most important election, that we have to keep Reagan in. Then 88 was most important to keep Dukakis out. Then 92 was you have to very important because you have to get the liar out. It's all hyperbole.
Yep.
My closing thought is you're allowed to skip races.
Oh, I skipped a bunch of them.
Yeah, you don't have to vote for somebody that you don't want to. No. If you don't like the Democrat, you don't like the Republican, and there is no third party. If you have time, it's disrespectful for people who are waiting in line. I waited 45 minutes to early vote, which is amazing. Which was basically good. That many people showing up to vote early. But I used to be a smart ass and go and type Snoopy or anybody but or something like that. But nobody reads that stuff. Just you can skip the race. If you don't know who you want to vote for president, you can skip it and go down and vote for your state reps. If you don't know who your state rep is and you don't know what they're doing, I mean, voting straight ticket doesn't mean you're getting somebody good. You can skip that race. So on that thought, big thank you to Air Company, who turns our awful audio into something you can listen to. Welcome back, Ken Pullen. I'm Dave Roberts. We'll talk to you next week.
Oh, I've been running from the law. Hope they won't shoot me down soon. They sing on a sleepless night. Try to catch me howling at the moon.